In this video help, what we're going to be doing is going from the calendar. We're going to create a daily appointment. Then we're going to go into the customer information and show you how you would add a new customer contact if you don't already have one there. So let's start out by creating the daily or the event or appointment. What you would do is if you come over to the plus here, you would tap or click on that particular item and it would bring up the screen for the appointment information. Like we said before, you would go ahead and put in your name person dash and the event or description. You would go ahead and complete all the fields that we were talking about here. If you are not certain that you have that particular customer, you would check to make sure that that customer or client contact was in the database. And then what you would do is you would go over, and if you were actually doing an actual appointment, you would set up all the information and pick the calendar event or wherever you want to have it parked as far as who needs to know about this event. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and check to make sure that if you have parts or materials that are required, that you can see if they're in stock, if they're out of stock, before you actually bring something in. Maybe you want to plan to go ahead and pull a invoice and purchase some items that are required in order to take care of it. And that could be something as simple as if you had an air cleaner and you're either doing field service or whatever, you would probably want to set the appointment when you have that actual item in stock. And if it's a standard inventory item, that tells you that it's there, like lubricants and oils and stuff like that. You would know you would always have those available, but you would want to check to make sure, as long as it says in stock, you would want to check the quantity to make sure that there's enough in the quantity. But you could see, for example, in this case, it's oil dash high detergent 30 weight oil SAE 30 1 quart. You would have to have at least 5 in quarts in most cases, or if it's a diesel, it could be up to 8 or 10 or even more as far as oil that you would need for that. Now, diesel oil is going to be a little different than a standard engine oil, like on a flatbed truck or a gas engine or whatever. Now, in the information, we're going to go in more in detail when we get back at the back end of the application, but it's very important how you set up the individual equipment ID and the information that is in this block, because when you're doing a search and a drop down, you want it to be as specific as possible. For example, if this one is the item where it has a specific thing like a cleaner or a computer, this one was C dash as computer. This one could be for a air cleaner, and you can preamble that as far as putting a prefix on it of something that is more like what the actual item is in this thing. So for example, in this case, it was a K that the guy put in there as far as the sample record, and it actually had a serial number for the item for a discharge valve. That might be specific to that one part, and you can have specific things to one part. When you're doing a drop down, these items are going to be in alphabetical order by number. That's numerical and then alpha, so it'd be easy to find these items. And in a drop down, if you're on the desktop and you type the first few characters, it'll do a sub drop where it only takes those items that are in with the information that you added to it, and that's what it's going to show. Okay, so now we're ready. Let's say we're going to go to the back end. We did not have a client, and we're going to go ahead and create the client. We close this, go up to the application map, go to customer information, and in the customer information screen, the first thing you want to do is to go ahead and, again, you can look in here to see if the person's actually in the list. It may be slightly different, like somebody, we don't use Mr., Miss, or anything like that on the front of these. It's just the person who's the primary contact's name and first and last name, so that they're differentiated in case you have a Jim. You don't want 5 Jims and no last name. And if you do have duplicates as far as names are concerned, you can add a middle initial or something like that to differentiate them. So you put in all the information for the primary contact information. And in this particular case, this is the person that you most often or would possibly want to contact in the event of scheduling or changing events or adding events. And this would be the person that would be managing that information and managing the movement and usage of equipment within that company. You'd put their company name in here, which would be brought up here, and the name when you add it here would be added to the top of the screen. So it's easy to identify very quickly when you're looking at this particular information who you're dealing with. It is labeled up here that this is the customer information screen. This is the equipment management client, and this is a select list. You can fill this entire list and it scrolls and it keeps a customer ID all the way down through these as far as all the customer IDs. And you can see over here too, this is the one that is actually assigned to this client. You'll see that there's a match between the name and the customer ID in the list, and also over here. Now we're going to be talking more in the next video where we're going to go into detail and set up some information in this area. One of the things you want to do if you are working with the a business that has a website, especially for someone that has specific things about employees and information that you may need in the event of a service, or going to, say for example, say they're going to be providing materials and or parts that are specific to their equipment, that you would want to have an ability to go and see those people and the website if they have information for that on their website. And down here you can take notes and comments about the particular client. This is where they showed up in the calendar on the front end of the application where this information was available to you. It then shows up here on the application, and then you can scroll through that. Down at the bottom of the screen you'll see there's automatic things: the creation date of this record, the creation time, the last time it was modified, the mod time when it was modified, and over here is a drop-down list of different specific things that you can do as far as the last event or whatever was done on this calendar. You'll notice through the application that there will be icons with data words below them that allow you to move between this screen and other screens. But as we pointed out in the application beginning, this menu options, all these menu options cover all the screens that are available for this application. And by using this with a single click, you can go to any place in the application and review or modify information. As we talked about lists that you can edit, anything that has a list in the word of it can, except for the list views where you just view information or search for information. This information, like vendor list and these other ones, are all colored the same for a list, like list view or list edits. These are all the same color. The master screens for the application are these darker kind of army green color. These are things that you'd be using more often in the application than any of these other screens. The other ones are sub-screens to these, and they're not the most important screens in the application. Now, I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, this looks kind of difficult with all these, but you'll find that it's very quick to learn. The specific green ones are the top level parent records, and these are all subordinate records or reports in the other colors. So it makes it pretty simple to learn, and especially when you're using the video helps, it'll explain each one of these screens and the elements within the screen and what you're using. And as before, you can go back to the main calendar from here, or if you want to just hide this, you can hide this button and be off the screen. Okay, in the next video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be explaining the tabs in this area here. We're going to explain how to add records in this area, and we're going to go ahead and add some information into the records themselves. We're going to be explaining UDF fields, these drop-down lists here that some of which you've already seen, and then also up here at the top of the screen, this is support in case you have questions. You can click on this, and it'll take you to the developer site where you can add information. And or you can go to the video helps and go take other videos with the video help. And the lock up here where it shows open says that you can add records. If you see one that's locked, you will not be allowed to make any adds or edits in that screen as far as adding a new record. If you see a button here that says add new record, this is a primary screen, and it allows you to add new records in this area. So if you came to this screen and you're going to add a new contact client, you would click on the add button. You'd get a blank screen, and you would fill in all the data that you see here, and there is some information like over here that is optional that you can add, and then that name that you add would show up over here in the list. There is one additional icon here that is not in the app map. What this is a calendar that is for the company that is running the application. In other words, you're the top level company and you want not events in the main calendar, but you want to have certain events or meetings that may be related to servicing and other things that you're doing. You can have a separate calendar, and this is Google Calendar. So it has the ability to add multiple calendars on the fly and add people in there as far as your account is concerned. When you have something like this, you can click on it, you can log in. Once you log in, you're logging into your own specific individual calendar, and this would be company and not client information that you're working with here, but it's related to this particular client base or records of that particular person. Okay, if you have any questions, as usual, you can go ahead and click on the support icon and contact us as far as getting answers to questions you may have. In the next video, we will be covering more in-depth information about adding all the information in these areas over here and how that works, and we'll start looking through the application as far as the specific things and how they link back to the primary record. Thank you.